Okay, we've prepared the outside of the wallet, and now it's time to do the inside of the wallet. We're going to take our wallet lining piece and mark a line 1/2 inch from the end and turn that to the inside and just stitch that down. And then we're going to mark lines on it for placement of all the things that go on the inside of our wallet. So we're going to measure down from the top and mark lines. These lines are for positioning our ID pocket in place. And I'm going to make one for where our pocket gets added. And this is where our pen holder gets positioned. So we've marked those lines, and again the pattern tells you exactly where to line those up. And now we're ready to put our ID pocket in place. And it's going between these two lines centered, which should be about 2 inches from each side. Wow, I did good. And if you want to pin that in place, it's not very easy because it's hard to get a pin through vinyl, but I'd put a pin on that side. That's the side we're leaving open. That's the one where we did that extra row of stitching. That's where your driver's license will get slid in here. So this, all we're going to do is sew right along here to get this put in place. And then to sew it on the top and cover that raw edge up, we are going to put a facing on. And we've cut those pieces, and that's going to get lined up right along that line so it covers all those raw edges, and then we're going to stitch that with a 1/4 inch seam, and then we'll press that up. It might be a little bit longer, we can trim that later, but we're going to sew that in place. Now we have to be really careful when we press this because we don't want to touch a hot iron on the vinyl. So maybe put a press cloth or something over that when you go to press it, just so you don't put a hot iron on the vinyl. I actually usually just press it from the top side, being careful not to touch the vinyl with my iron. So we've got our ID pocket sewn in place on this edge. This edge is left open. We've sewn our facing on and pressed it up. And we want to just trim that even with the edge of our piece, so you can see really easily on the back where the piece ends because we've got that stabilizer sewn there. We're just going to trim that excess off. And we've got that ready to go. Alright, next we're going to sew our piece of scratchy Velcro, the hook side of our last piece of Velcro on. And again, just a little glue makes it really easy to hold it in place. And we're going to position it right above that credit card holder. And I just usually put it kind of right above where I can feel the seam underneath there. And I'll stitch that in place all the way around. So it's going to be about a 1/4 inch above where that clear pocket is. Alright, then we're going to put our tabs for our carrying strap that we made earlier, and these are the ones that are about 4 inches long. We're going to fold them in half, and we're going to align them along this line, with the raw edges along that line, and about, a 1/2 inch or so away from the clear vinyl pocket. About right there. And the easiest way to get those there is to just stick a pin in. We're going to put one on each side. Okay, we're going to go stitch that down, and then we're going to get our other facing piece and put it over that. Although this one, instead of leaving it plain, we're going to fold this one in half because we don't want to have raw edges and we have no other way to cover these up. So we're going to fold this in half, align it along there, stitch all the way across this, and then we'll press this over and fold it down. When we go to stitch that down, we're going to bring these over too, so that will be the next step that I show you. Okay, so I sewed my facing along there, and then I folded it over and stitched along here. And before I stitched across this part, I made sure that I pulled the tab down and caught that end of it in that same seam. So I did that on both sides. Now I'm going to attach the eye portion of the hook and eye so that we have a place to attach our strap. And to do that, we want those about 6.5 inches down from the top and about 1 inch in from the side. And I want the curved part to be facing up. So I'm going to put a little glue on that again. And then I'm going to, this is where you have to have good dexterity. So 6.5 and 1 inch in. So that one's going to go about right. I don't think I have enough glue on it. This glue is purple, but it dries clear, so just use a washable school glue stick and you'll be set. Well, I got a lot of glue on that one. We'll let that dry a little bit before I go to stick that on, or sew that on. So those will get sewn on, and again, I just use my zigzag on my machine to do those. And then we're going to attach our pin holder that we sewed earlier. And this was the one where we put the seam down the middle of the back and we brought our edges up together. And it's going to go on the line that is marked right here. And I want to put the seam facing towards the bottom, and I want to center this right below that line. So that one's going to be about 3 inches, I believe, from each side. That's about good right there. I'm going to just pin that in place, and I'll stitch that right across there. So I'll stitch those, I'll stitch that, and then we're going to be ready to put everything together.